Hi, Bill Winter coming to you from my balcony here in Rochester, New York. A few videos ago I told you that I wanted to share my story about how I was ridiculed in my early years for having asthma. Asthma is something today that's accepted. You hear about it all the time, about how bad asthma is, and the medications you can take for it. People have died from it. In fact, I remember there was one person who had died on the tennis court. He had been taking some stuff for it, and he had an asthma attack on the tennis court and died. And that was when I was growing up. I remember hearing that. But you don't hear very much about that when I was growing up. You just didn't hear about it. In fact, everybody that I knew thought that I was just joking around. That it was just something I was making up. It was all in my head. If I really wanted to breathe good, I could. If I wanted to play sports, I could do it. Whatever it was. But let me tell you, when I was born with eczema all over my body. They couldn't even take my picture until I was 6 months old. They had to put socks on my hands to stop me from digging, because I had scabs and they would bleed if they didn't put them on. It was awful. I had a private nurse that used to come in and give me injections. I can remember the little blue insert in the needle. It stuck in my mind so much. And that's kind of the way I grew up. The nurse finally taught my dad how to give me injections so that I could actually breathe. Then when it came time to go to school, like around age 6, I tried to go to school, but I would go and I couldn't attend very much. And I looked back over my report cards that I had received, and I would go for a short time, and then there was a notation on the report card that says, Billy does well, but he isn't here very much. He's absent a lot because of his sickness. So they had to, excuse me, that ended up giving me a private tutor. And I went through that every year. It seemed like I tried to go back, and it just didn't happen for me. And so I ended up having private tutors throughout most of my 8th grades. And that really wasn't a bad thing in a way, because what it did was it gave me a great education. But the other bad thing was it didn't give me any socialization. It didn't allow me to do anything. I couldn't do anything play sports. I couldn't do anything like that. I used to remember sitting at home, looking out the window, watching my brother play, watching other kids play. When I sat there and looked out the window and watched, I'd go out and try, and I'd get an asthma attack and come back in. It was horrible. It was a living hell. But anyhow, that's the way that I grew up. Then finally, right around age 14, let me back up a little bit. During those 14 years, my parents and my grandparents, we used to got a trailer hooked on, and we used to drive to different states to see if we could stay there for a while, to see if it would help us. People said, if you change climate, it'll help. We tried everything. Believe me, my parents, my grandparents were absolutely fantastic in trying to help out. My mom also had asthma, so that even made things even worse, because that's why we were with my grandparents, because my mom had to be taken care of a lot too. So, and my poor dad, he worked doubly hard in order to support all the medication problems. So it was not a great way to live. But again, age 14, we found out about this clinic in Mississippi. We went to it, and it really drastically changed both of our lives. It allowed us to start doing things. I started going to high school, started going to activities. It was great. I could go to football games. I could go watch the things play without having an asthma attack. It was absolutely fantastic. But the bad part during those first 8 years of schooling was I was ridiculed. People told me I was stupid. It's all in my mind. I remember trying to, when my mom would drop me off at school because I couldn't walk. We didn't live that far away, but I couldn't walk. And they used to kid me about, mommy's dropping you off. And it was just a lousy way to grow up. And but here I finally got into high school. I just really enjoyed it, except, again, I started to have problems in my sophomore year. Had to have another private tutor again. But then at my junior, senior year, great. So I did finally graduate from high school, went on to college, and got on the dean's list. It was absolutely great. But the main thing was, it was not like it is today. When somebody has asthma today, it's recognized and treated. Mine was not recognized, it was treated, but I was ridiculed for it. But one thing I did learn was that I learned to accept things and not to let it get me down. Sometimes it did, but I had a really great attitude by just saying, look, I'll find other things to do if I can't go outside. So I did. I learned a lot of things. I learned how to cook. I learned how to sew. I learned how to make things. And when I could, I'd go out and sell them door to door. I learned a lot. So it wasn't a total waste. It was just a different way of growing up. The thing I didn't like, again, as I said, it was being ridiculed. So let this be a lesson. If you're in the home-based business industry, if things are getting you down, things aren't going right, and it seems like, things are never going to change, well, if you think that they're never going to change, they won't. But if you think they will, they will. It's all in your mind. It's a matter of mindset. And I've learned a lot how to overcome a lot of things, a lot of problems in the home-based business industry just by having the right mindset. It's 95% of the problems is not having the right mindset. So I hope this message has been something that's helped you out. I hope you take it to heart. I mean, it's something that I experienced, and I wanted to pass that experience on to you. I do have some other tips. There's a link down underneath this video. You can check the link to get some other tips. So again, this is Bill Winch coming to you from my balcony here in Rochester, New York. Bye for now.